Welcome back to Movies You Missed podcast. We are nearing our 200th episode. John, can you believe it?
I honestly cannot. I thought we had already hit 200, to be honest with you.
I was thinking of it more as an accomplishment, but yeah, that's a good point too.
No, it is. It's a great accomplishment. We've been doing this long enough now. I said something to somebody like 3 months ago. I was like, yeah, we've got over 200 episodes. And then over the last few weeks, like episode 193, episode 196. I'm like, oh, I guess we haven't even hit 200 yet. But we will next week, which is going to be pretty sweet.
So what you're saying is it feels like we've done it even longer.
Well,
that's not a good thing to say, John.
Since I'm looking at you through the glass, I don't know how much time has passed, but it feels like forever. So yeah, no, not really. It just felt like we've been doing a lot more episodes.
I don't know how to
It's
take
not a bad thing.
Okay.
It's not a bad thing at all.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if anybody will even know that song, but that is Stone Sour, Looking Through the Glass.
I do know Stone Sour. I just didn't recognize the song right off the bat.
Oh, yeah. Corey Taylor's band that he sings more melodically than screams from like Slipknot and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We are going to do survival movies this week. That is our theme.
Yeah.
Had you seen my movie before?
Not one time. I've seen the trailer, but no, never saw your movie.
Okay, so we are both introducing each other's picks to the other one this week, which we're always a fan of when we do that on this show. And thank you everyone so much for tuning in this week. We are two lifelong friends. I guess I could say that now that we are
at this
over
point,
40 and short from a midlife crisis.
And close to 200 episodes.
And close to 200 episodes, yeah. There's no breaking us up.
Nope.
And we love to discuss movies every week without spoiling them.
No spoilers here.
And I think both of these movies fit the underrated category, maybe even forgotten.
Oh, yeah. I would say both of those terms fit both of these movies.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad to introduce you to a movie this week. And we also like to discuss the new movies we've seen in theaters or on streaming over the last week since our last episode. I really like to continue watching 2025 movies before our recap, which happens next week. For our 200th episode, we are celebrating that by doing a 2025 recap. We hope you tune in for that, which will probably end up being a two-parter.
Very likely, yes.
Given how many movies we've seen over the last year.
Yeah.
But I know John really likes to start watching new movies as soon as the calendar turns, so let's see which new movies both of us have seen over the last week.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jump in.
All right, John, what movies did you see?
Well, unfortunately, I only saw 2 new movies over the last week. I came down with a bit of a head cold, so I didn't watch anything new over the last few days, but last night I did see a new one, and a couple days before I got sick, I saw a new one. So I'll start with the one that I saw last night. I went and saw the new Jason Statham movie, Shelter.
Oh, it's not a descriptive noun of what job he has?
Well, kind of. It's a keep a kid safe movie.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's a C+. It
of course
was
it is.
Not great at all. I will say over the last 3 years where we've pretty much started off with Jason Statham movies, this is the worst of the 3 in the last 3 years. It's entertaining. The action is okay, but it was not great. I was a little disappointed with it. Bill Nighy is in it, as is Naomi Aki, who we're fans of. I think it's definitely worth seeing, but it's nothing you gotta rush out to see.
Oh, God, you know it's bad when the action isn't even that entertaining.
And I only saw one trailer for it, so it wasn't like I was super stoked for it, but I like Statham, and I know you do too, so it's... If you're a Statham fan, check it out, but it's not going to be anything spectacular.
I just want him to do comedies again. His role in Spy is just so amazing.
Yeah, let's get him to do some comedies. There was a little bit of emotional drama in this one that I have not seen from Statham in the past, but overall, like I said, C+,
Not surprised.
Yeah. But before that, a few days ago, I went and saw the new Sam Raimi-directed Rachel McAdams starring Send Help.
Yes, I'm excited for this film.
Yes, and you should be. It's fucking awesome.
Yay!
I enjoyed the hell out of it. I had such a blast. It is a badass movie. McAdams is kick-ass. Dylan O'Brien's good. It's really, really awesome. I highly, highly recommend seeing Send Help.
Fantastic to hear.
So that's what I saw. V, what did you see over the last week?
I, too, saw 2 movies, and they were both documentaries.
Hey! Oh, man, you're really trying to catch up to me, aren't you?
I think I have. Hope I
You might have at this point, yeah.
The first one, actually, I loved them both. And so, in no particular order, the first one I want to talk about is called Prime Minister. It's on HBO. And it covers the tenure of Jacinda Ardern, who was the Prime Minister of New Zealand for about 6 years. And it was great. She is really impressive. I really like how it was done and how they had so much material for this time between like 2018 to 2024. And those were crazy years for most people in the world, including New Zealanders. They had a horrific terrorist attack. They had COVID. There were so many things that she had to deal with. And it's a really intimate look into her and not only her time as a prime minister, but also how she dealt with all of these people pushing back on her being a female prime minister.
She was the first female prime minister of New Zealand, right?
I believe so. And right after she was appointed, she announced her pregnancy. And so there was so much negative backlash about that of how could you be a mother and a prime minister at the same time? It was just, just so gross and misogynist. And watching her deal with that and her very supportive partner, it was fascinating and definitely an intimate look at a female leader of a country, something that I really appreciated seeing. And I think a lot of people would really enjoy this movie. So Prime Minister on HBO.
Nice. I should check that one out before our recap then.
Yeah, definitely. And the second one is a Netflix documentary called Murder in Monaco. It is about the death of a billionaire, and it was so messy, this murder. And they presented this documentary with a lot of unanswered questions at the beginning, and it's so deliciously drama-filled. I loved all of the interviews. These people are so eccentric. And then it goes into the history of Monaco and how it's one of the safest places there is. And it's a tax haven for billionaires. And there's a lot of things that go along with that. And it was a lot of fun and definitely entertaining. I highly recommend it for people who are fans of true crime and just watching a little more of the drama-filled celebrity stories. Anybody who likes those, they would have a good time with it too. So that's Murder in Monaco, and that's on Netflix.
Nice. All right. Well, 2 new documentaries I got to watch before our recap next week.
I mean, you don't have to, because then you won't catch up to me.
Well, there's at least 3 documentaries I plan to watch between now and our recap, so I'll be ahead of you by at least 1 if I watch those 3.
Okay. Well, now it's time for our survival instincts to kick in. John, you want to start us off?
I do indeed. I am ready to go into the fray, and that is just a little bit of a piece of dialogue from this movie. If you've seen this movie, I don't know many people that have. I saw it in theaters when it first came out. I went with a friend of mine, and we both left the theater very similarly to how I leave a theater when I love a movie. The adrenaline was pumping through me, and just I completely fell in love with this movie. I have the Blu-ray. We've discussed the director on this podcast 2 other times, so this is now the 3rd time, other than my mention of having watched The Rip last week, which I did not enjoy very much. But this movie was released in January of 2012. This film is written by Joe Carnahan and Ian Mackenzie Jeffers, and it is based off of Ian Mackenzie Jeffers' short story Ghost Walker. This film is directed by Joe Carnahan. If you don't recall who he is, I did a very early episode here of the movie Narc with Jason Patric and Ray Liotta when we did our Ray Liotta in memoriam episode. Then I did Smokin' Aces just some time ago. I would say like in the last 7 months.
I would say in the last couple months, actually. I think it was pretty recent.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See, I thought we were at 200 episodes. I don't remember when a lot of these episodes drop. Time-wise.
Time is meaningless.
Yeah, time is... As you get older, time makes no sense. But this film, I don't think I gave you the title yet. This film is titled The Grey, and this film stars Liam Neeson, Dermot Mulrooney, Frank Grillo, Dallas Roberts, Joe Anderson, Nonso Onozi, James Bridgedale, and Ben Hernandez-Bray. We also have a little bit of a female character in this movie played by Anne Openshaw. She plays Otway's wife. Otway is Liam Neeson. And for those of you that have not seen The Grey, let's break this movie down for you. This film is set in Alaska, and Otway, played by Liam Neeson, is a hunter, and he has been hired by a big oil company to protect the oil workers from packs of wolves that come out of nowhere and kill people. So already we know that this movie is definitely not based on truth.
Yes.
Because wolves do not attack people unless you are near their dens where their little wolf cubs are. They will definitely defend themselves, which they talk about in this movie. So we meet Otway and we meet a whole handful of oil workers. And I remember when I was watching this movie the first time, I was like, is that freaking Dermot Mulroney? I didn't recognize him.
You told me he was in this movie, and it still took me 45 minutes to recognize him.
I know, he's not clean-shaven and like he normally is in a lot of his other movies, especially, I mean, it's so many years ago, but my best friend's wedding was the first time I was introduced to him.
And yeah, with the hat and the glasses and the scarf, I had no idea. I was like, oh, this guy's so nice and whatever, and then it just all clicked one moment. I think when he was cleaning off his glasses, I was like, oh my God, that's right. John did tell me he was in this movie.
Yeah, it was a pretty shocking moment in theaters. On top of the other cast members, Joe Anderson, he's a pretty good character actor. He is in a future pick of mine of Across the Universe. He's also in a great remake of a horror movie called The Crazies. Nonso Unzoni, if you don't know him by name, he was in Cinderella, my past pick not too long ago, a movie that V apparently really hated. And he was also
hated. I just didn't think it was that good.
Yeah, I know. You also don't like Lily James, which I'm not going to hold that against you.
I'm shocked that you wouldn't, honestly. I
Well,
know you
she's
love her
not everybody's
so much.
cup of tea. I do. I am a big Lily James fan. And Onzoni is also one of the actors in Game of Thrones. He plays one of Daenerys Targaryen's kind of right-hand man in one of the seasons. I can't remember what season it is. I haven't watched Game of Thrones in so long.
Is it her, or does he help Pedro Pascal because they're both from the Worm Isles? I don't know, but he's cool in Game of Thrones. He's a great actor.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan
He
of
is.
his.
He's really good. Yeah, he's awesome. And I completely forgot he was in this. The last time I watched The Grey, I think, was it's been almost a decade, and it was right around the time that Amy and I started living together, and I put it on one afternoon, and she was doing whatever, and I was just getting completely into the movie, and she watched a little bit of it with me, but she was not really that big a fan. It's not really her type of movie.
No.
But anyway, getting back to the breakdown of this movie, Otway, like I said, he's been hired by this oil company to protect oil workers up in Alaska. So the season has now ended up in Alaska, and all of these men are jumping on a plane to head home. And, oh boy, the plane does not make it home.
No,
the plane goes down.
Does not. Yes, it
and
does.
I got to tell you what, this plane crash, every time I see this movie, scares the fucking shit out of me.
It's intense. It's really well done.
It is so fantastically well done, and I love the subtlety of it when the camera is panning back from first class and everybody's breath is starting to show up, and then all of a sudden Otway looks outside and he sees that the wing is not really winging it like it should be, and unfortunately the whole thing just completely goes down, and I catch my breath every time. I think I've watched this movie 6 or 7 times, and every time the roof of the plane flies off and we just are stuck with Otway as he is strapped into these chairs, I catch my breath, and then it cuts to a shot of him laying in bed with his wife, and then we are just thrust into the unforgiving wilderness of Alaska.
My favorite part of the crash is when, first of all, he's brilliant because he's got the aisle to himself, which dream for traveling on an airplane, as everyone knows. I remember going to the Philippines in December of 2024, and I got an entire row to myself for on a 14-hour flight.
Yeah.
I was so grateful. But yeah, he lays down and straps himself in. I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty cool way to do it. I wonder if that would really work. So I want to look that up. But the shot
Hopefully you don't want to experience that.
No, of course not. But I would like to survive a crash if I ever have to be in one.
For sure.
But the shot that I love is when the side of the plane rips off, and so his head is just kind of hanging out there, and behind him is just the landscape. I loved that shot so much. Sorry, continue, but I just
totally fine. It's
that.
a plane crash for the ages. There's so many plane crashes in movies. I think it's really weird to be like the best one I've ever seen, but literally one of the best ones I've seen was from a year or two ago. The film from Chile, Society of the Snow, or Society in the Snow. Did you ever watch that one?
I may have ended up watching it for the Oscars, but I feel like if I had ended up watching it, I would have remembered it because it's supposed to be amazing.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Yeah, it was one of the best movies that I watched that year, and that plane crash is brutal. Yeah, it's definitely a revisitable movie. Anyway, it's a survival movie. I could have picked that one for this week. But anyway,
I think that would be a great pick in the future for a foreign film episode, which we need to do more of.
Yeah. Yes, we absolutely do. 2026 is, we should add some more foreign film for 2026.
Agreed.
So the plane has now gone down, and Otway and a majority of the oil workers have survived this very traumatic plane crash. And they are in the Alaskan wilderness, minus 40 degrees. The weather is unforgiving. And what they're trying to do, actually Otway is trying to do, is to tell them that they need to figure out a way to survive before they start making their ways to the tree line, because they are in the middle of absolutely nowhere. It is completely desolate. There is nothing for them to even remotely do to stay alive. But they stay with the plane crash for a little while they gather things and try to build fires and find food, because it's a plane, so of course the stewardess box is there, and of course they find a whole bunch of little bottles of alcohol.
It's called a flight attendant.
Flight attendant, yes. Okay. Well, I remember when flight attendant wasn't even the right terminology a few years ago. People were like, it's not flight attendant, it's a stewardess. I thought it was anyway, whatever. Yes, the flight attendant box that always comes around and offers you many bottles of alcohol and like a small bag of pretzels. They all find these, and the survivors are Talgett, Diaz, Hendrick, Flannery, Burke, Lewandon, and Hernandez. One thing leads to another, and there's a couple of the guys that are just like, fuck Otway, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. There are a couple other guys that are like, well, this guy's actually helped keep us alive while we've been doing our job in Alaska, so let's trust this guy. He definitely has some sort of survival instincts. And one thing leads to another, and a pack of wolves starts to close in on the plane crash. So Otway tells the guys that they need to start figuring out a way to get away from this wolf pack, because they're very likely near their den, and they're protecting their young and they're protecting their land. And they start to make their way to the tree line. And we also get some pretty good exposition from Otway about how wolves work. And now, granted, this is I don't want to say it's a farce or a satirical look at
fictional account.
Fictional, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. This is very fictional, very fictitious. And I love that at the end of the movie, just like every other movie, every person, place is fictitious. Any resemblance is completely coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely fictitious take on wolves and them attacking humans, because that is the only time that's ever really been recorded was back in the 1800s, and it happened over the course of a couple of years where a group of wolves was attacking a village and killing children, and it was a pretty brutal situation, but they ended up, this group of people in the village ended up unfortunately taking the wolves out, and that no longer happened. So Otway has told them what they need to do, and a couple guys are like, fuck that, I'm staying right here, I'm not going into all that craziness. And everybody else is just being like, dude, let's go. Like, what are you going to do? You're just going to freeze to death here. Let's try and live through this and get somewhere where we can send out a signal or find a phone. But they're looking for civilization so that they can get the word out that their plane has now been crashed, and they are on foot, basically.
On their own.
On their own completely. And Otway even says that wolves have a tracking of about 300 square miles, which is super impressive. And I feel like that's pretty accurate, although I couldn't find a whole lot based off of this movie about wolves and their tracking. I've read a couple of books on wolves. I've even adopted a wolf way back when I was a kid. My parents adopted a wolf for me. His name was Motimo. He was a black timber wolf, and I would always get pictures every couple of weeks of him out in this preservation where he lived with his family and his pack. I don't know if Motimo's still around, but he's certainly one of my favorite things that I ever received as a kid was getting to sponsor this wolf for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
So Otway and the guys are now in the forest, and they are slowly being picked off by this wolf pack and this alpha wolf that we see a couple of times. And I really like the way that we're first introduced to the alpha is we don't even see him. He just does his big howl way up along a tree line, and we see his breath go up into the sky. And all the men are just like, what the hell? What are we going to do? And Otway, with his survival instincts, tells all the men that ways to keep the wolves at bay is to keep a fire going and to also just stand guard and keep them away from us as much as possible. And he comes up with a way to rig shotgun shells to a stick, and if they get close enough, they can use those as a weapon to keep the wolves from coming back. And we end up meeting one of the Omega wolves who tries to get Diaz, and that scene is brutal, but also kind of funny because Diaz is definitely the alpha male, or at least wannabe alpha male of the group.
Big
time wannabe. And, you know, just like any other movie, there's going to be that character in a survival situation. And I thought Frank Grillo completely killed the role. I thought he was fantastic.
That was the first scene I recognized him, though. For the longest time, I didn't even realize it was Frank Grillo, probably because he's not super buff like he usually is in the MCU movies.
He's in MCU movies?
Yeah, he's S.H.I.E.L.D.'s like main security guy in the Captain America movies. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, he's a cool actor. He reminds me a lot of John Bernthal.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. So in a way to get back at this wolf pack, Otway says, you know what? We're starving. Let's cook this bitch. And they put the wolf on a stake and eat her on up, because what else are you going to do? You can't just continually drink snow or make snow into water, and you got to eat something. So after the Omega's been killed and the men eat it, they decide that they need to make better ground the next day and get as far as they can. As night falls, of course, they got to keep building fires to keep the wolves at bay and from not chomping them down and trying to kill every single human that they possibly can. We get a little bit of exposition and background on some of these men, which is pretty awesome. I'm glad that they weren't just one-dimensional. Like Talget, Dermot Mulrooney's character, starts talking about his daughter, and we find out as an audience that Otway has a wife, and Diaz also talks a little bit about his family, as does Burke. Burke starts to talk about his sister, and unfortunately starts to have hallucinations because it's just so cold. He thinks that his sister's coming to see him and coming to help him get out of this treacherous landscape. And for the rest of the movie, we are along for this survival instinct of man against nature and against a wolf pack of brutal killing wolves and this insane black alpha male wolf, while they try to survive as long as they possibly can to somehow figure out a way to get the information out that they need to be rescued. And there is one sequence where they have to go over a very intense cavern. And that scene, there's a moment in it at the end that brings me to tears. I actually cry every time I watch this movie because of 3 separate parts. Oh. And I'm not going to get into that because it is a bit spoilerish, but I imagine, V, you would know which ones I'm talking about.
Probably 2 of them.
Yeah. There's one moment with Dermot Mulrooney's character that gets me every time. There's one moment with Otway that gets me every time. And then there's another moment in the movie that doesn't make me completely cry, but it gets me choked up. And I've just been a big fan of this movie since it came out. And I remember showing it to my dad, and he was like, that was a kick-ass movie. I'm like, yeah, it's intense. It's brutal. That weather is all practical. Nothing was done on a soundstage, and Joe Carnahan was very adamant about wanting to shoot in the Yukon, but the studio was very adamant about shooting in Alaska. So after much back and forth, Joe Carnahan finally just said, fuck it, we'll shoot in Alaska. I just want to get this movie made, and I'm really glad that he did. The cast is fantastic. It's Liam Neeson. I don't think I've ever not liked Liam Neeson, even if the movie's terrible, but this movie is not terrible in my opinion. So I'm curious, V, for your first watch of The Grey. Oh, there's also, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I just want to know what you thought of The Grey with Liam Neeson from Joe Carnahan for your first time watch.
Otway is a big dumb idiot.
What?
Yeah. Just, not to spoil anything, but he makes horrible decisions.
Does he? Well, I disagree with it. He's a big dumb idiot.
Beyond that, I've never seen the movie before, so starting it off, it reminded me a lot of my job because I have done seasonal work in Alaska and worked with guys like that, and can confirm that weather sucks. We only close down our operations when the weather comes in, so that means until then we are working in continuing worsening conditions. And I actually really liked all of the characters in it. I thought the actors did a really good job. Beyond Frank Grillo and Dermot Mulroney, Dallas Roberts was really good in this movie. He plays the nice guy, Henrik, and he has a multi-episode stint on Law & Order SVU where he plays a serial killer, and he is so terrifying in that show, and that's the only time I'd ever seen him before this. And so watching him in this film and having him be that believable as this really sweet man, I was like, wow, he is very talented.
Yeah,
because
that's awesome.
Both extremes, I could see him in it. So hats off to Dallas Roberts. And then James Badge Dale, I've seen him a couple times. He was in 24 for a while, and then he also plays Matt Damon's friend in The Departed.
Oh.
He's the skinny, tall guy in The Departed that is also a cop with Matt Damon.
Wow, I didn't recognize him. I guess similar to you not recognizing Dermot Mulroney. They're all very scruffed up and kind of beaten down. The makeup was really good on this movie.
So were the costumes. Everything was very believable, and I really enjoyed that. And like we've talked about, I loved the plane crash. I thought it was really well done. But in the beginning of the movie, when Liam Neeson is posting up to kill a wolf, I'm like, well, I hate you. And don't care what happens to your character in this movie.
Right.
And then he's dressed up in all white in that snowsuit, and I'm thinking, Jeremy Renner did this better.
Oh, and Wind River?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So those were the first couple of thoughts I had in my head, but overall, it's a pretty enjoyable survival movie. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but it has some pretty good action. I really like the cinematography and just the scenery, and it was very clear that they filmed outside. Some of the deaths are really messed up, and you just feel really bad for the guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I like how in this movie, unlike some other ones, we never find out why the plane crashes, because so many times, like in my movie, for example, there's a very specific cause. And in other movies, no matter what, they find out somehow, right? They watch it happen, and the wing came off, or the engine blew up, or whatever, or we hit something, or somebody had a heart attack, whatever. Like so many times in movies when there's a plane crash, think of Mission Impossible 2 or The Dark Knight or something. Like it's always shown from a larger kind of God's eye view where the audience and all the characters get to find out exactly why it crashed. And I really like that they don't do that in this movie. Because as a passenger, you are literally just along for the ride.
Yeah.
Which is why flying is scary for a lot of people, and that's fair.
Yeah, yep. I love flying. I just hate landing. Landing is the one thing I hate the most, and I used to love it, but now I can't stand it.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. I always have to count down, and I always have to look outside and like watch as we're coming into the runway. I always have to do like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown as the plane is about to touch down, and it still scares the shit out of me. And the last time Amy and I traveled in December, when we were going to and from Cancun, we had to get on a bunch of different planes because of where we live. There's no direct flights. And every landing was fucking horrendous. Like the plane swerved and like bounced off the tarmac and then got back on, and I was just white knuckle on the damn seats, and I was like, I'm surprised I didn't bruise Amy's knee because I was squeezing her knee so hard. I really hate landing. It's fine. But like I said, I used to love it. I love takeoff and I love flying. I hate landing.
Okay. Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you find something that works for you to mitigate some of that fear and stress. Maybe alcohol. Who knows?
Hey, you know what? It's like in Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not going to die sober. So I try and make sure that I have a slight buzz happening right before landing.
Perfect. And there is a shot in the movie that it doesn't feel that forced being an artistic shot. I really like that they set it up, and of course it's very purposeful, but I don't know, I just thought it was cool versus forced, which I appreciated. And it's when somebody dies, and they're trying to check on him and see if he is still alive by chance, and his blood starts to seep into the snow, and it fills this wolf paw print.
Yeah.
And it was so well done. And I thought it was very original and creative. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to talk about it.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, no, that scene, when I watched it this time around, I was like, oh, shit. There's a lot of moments in this movie that are so brutal that I think as an audience member, you kind of forget certain ways that people die. And it's not like a horror movie where it's like, oh, man, when he got his hand slashed open or whatever.
Right.
Like this was, man against nature and man against a wolf pack. And yeah, I like that you brought that up. That is definitely one of the cooler shots in the movie.
And I really liked the score. I thought the piano pieces in it were really well done and very beautiful. And overall, I think one of the reasons why I couldn't love this movie is because I knew that wolves would never do this. And I was kind of thinking how cool it would be if maybe a group of crazed, isolated mountain men were chasing them instead, right? Or something that I could understand a wolf pack making it more exciting, but just trying to survive out there without some animal chasing them, I think, is completely realistic, right? But also, for a movie, I could understand needing a lot more tension and a lot more excitement and action. And I get that part, but knowing that wolves don't behave that way made it feel that I just couldn't get fully into it because I knew how unbelievable it was. But overall, I thought the guys did a really great job acting. Like I said, I really liked the cinematography and the scenery in it. And so Overall, it's solid. I'd give it a C+, and definitely would suggest some of my friends and maybe my father to watch it because I know they like those types of movies, and I know they like Liam Neeson, and he's a great actor. So overall, it was an entertaining time, and certainly not mad I watched it.
Sweet. Well, I'm glad you feel that was entertaining. C+. That's a little low. That I didn't think you would go that low, but I get it. I get it with the whole wolf thing. Fully understand, because when I first saw it, I was like, I've never heard of wolves attacking humans at all. And so I did a little bit of research, and even after watching it this time for the podcast, I was just kind of like, well, that's interesting, but like you said, you got to add some sort of tension, and the wilderness, just the weather can't be enough to make a movie and be like, oh god, they all freeze to death, like certain ways. And the brutality of the wolves is certainly intense, but I completely agree that the wolves obviously don't do that, and we know that based off of history and whatnot,
and studying them, and
yeah.
I'm wondering now that we're talking about it, because Just Trying to Survive makes a really good book.
Right.
It doesn't make a great movie, right? And even with the story of Alive, Society of the Snow, and that's been made into a movie several times, and also a book that I read as a teenager. Them just trying to survive in the Andes, well, there's other things they have to do to survive, which is why it made an interesting movie, and there's a lot of conflict there, and a lot of questions and things like that. But yeah, I'm wondering if it just doesn't translate well into a movie, that you need something else other than survival, right? Because I think the only one that really ever did that successfully was Castaway.
Right.
And they kind of just skipped over all the boring parts, right? They went from him
totally did.
crashing and being kind of overweight and trying to figure things out, and then they cut like 3 years later, and he's like this skinny island man.
Yeah. And he can make fire, and he's got Wilson that he talks to, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So no, I completely I can back that up. I understand where you're coming from with that.
But yeah, I think as we're talking, I think we're realizing that survival movies are actually pretty hard to make.
Absolutely. Yeah, they are. I would,
Not only logistically, but just storytelling, just making them interesting enough for someone to watch it. So
yeah,
more power to all the people that made these movies this week.
Fully agreed with all that. And like I said, the backstories of all of the men that we learn, not just... And it's not a one fell swoop. Like, we learn over the course of the movie, the length. It's like we're not getting all this exposition right away after the plane crashes. It's not like three guys are running like, oh my God, my wife's going to be going crazy. My daughters, my kids. Nothing like that off the bat. And it just starts to slowly come about as these guys are realizing that they may not survive this wolf pack out of Alaska. When I was reading the BTS on this and just finding out some more information about it, I don't really like bringing up critics. I don't like bringing up anything about what critics think about the movies that I choose, especially one named Roger Ebert. I never liked that guy, and for personal reasons, when I met him, he was a dick. No, I never met him, but I just never really liked the guy. I always liked Siskel more, and then when Roper came about, I was like, I don't even like either of these guys now. But anyway.
That's funny because I did meet Roger Ebert, and he was very nice.
Oh, well, there you go. That's
and
cool.
See,
I like hearing that. Yeah. I like hearing that. And I don't have anything against him as a person. Just the way that he reviewed movies was not my cup of tea.
That's so funny because I know we've talked about this before because I am a fan of Roger Ebert. I always thought Gene Siskel was such a mean guy. He always, whenever I watched Siskel and Ebert, and we watched it a lot in our house, actually.
Oh, yeah. I watched it all the time.
All the time, right? And I remember watching it with my parents, especially. And I always thought Gene Siskel was such a grouch, right? And there's so many movies he didn't like, where I always thought Roger Ebert came from a more gentle perspective, which is why I was more on his side.
Interesting. Well, maybe I should go back and YouTube some old Siskel and Ebert episodes.
Definitely.
Because I don't remember Siskel being like that at all. I remember Ebert being the one that was like, Siskel, you're wrong. This movie's terrible. And
maybe we should both rewatch it and see which one of us remembers correctly.
We should have a watch party of like 2 or 3, because they were only half-hour episodes. They weren't like very long, and it was I think like every Thursday or Friday night on ABC or some shit. But Roger Ebert, getting back to him, he went and saw The Grey, and he was so affected by this movie that he ended up going to another screening the same day, almost immediately after seeing The Grey, but he could not shake the feeling that he had of watching The Grey. So he ended up leaving the movie that he was currently watching for, I think he made it like 30 minutes into, from what I read. And he was just like, The Grey is just so on my mind right now. In a good way. He was a big fan of the movie. but he just couldn't give his full attention to this second movie that he was watching. And that was one of the few movies that Roger Ebert ever walked out of, and not because he wasn't enjoying it, he just could not give it his full attention, which was very fascinating.
Well, it's just kind of funny given that it's not because he hated it. But I could understand not being in the right mindset.
Yeah, and I have done double feature movies before, and for whatever reason, the second movie I go to, I don't like as much as I thought I would because I'm usually still thinking about the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened to me with The Fabelmans and The Whale. I went and saw The Whale first, bawled my eyes out, and then I went and saw The Fabelmans, and I was just completely emotionally drained from The Whale. So I still have not given The Fabelmans another proper rewatch, but I really have to.
The only double feature I've ever done as an adult is Barbenheimer.
Ah, there you go. Nice. I really wanted to, but Amy did not want to see Oppenheimer, and I never got a chance to do the Barbenheimer thing.
Oh, it was so fun, especially because I was able to see Oppenheimer in IMAX. I was very grateful.
Yeah. But anyway, back to The Grey. There was an actor that was in consideration and actually cast as Otway, but ended up not going through the entire production. He was a co-star of Liam Neeson in another movie that came out the year before. It also stars a very good buddy of ours that we've talked about here.
Oh God, what movie would it be? All I can think of from the last 15 years of Liam Neeson is Taken, so I got to think of something else.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't Taken. It was a movie you have seen, I have not. You keep telling me I need to see it. Liam Neeson's in it. There's a van.
Oh my God, A-Team. Okay,
yeah.
So his co-star was Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, Bradley Cooper was originally cast as Otway.
Oh,
I don't think that would have worked as well as it did.
No, he's not grizzled and wise enough and calm to lead these men.
I don't think so either. And it's funny because I like a lot of earlier Bradley Cooper movies. I really liked Limitless. I thought Limitless was awesome. And he's great of course, he's great in Wedding Crashers. And I really did enjoy him in Is This Thing On? It's just the last couple movies that he's starred and directed have just been so...
Bradley
Blasé.
Cooper ruined Bradley Cooper for me.
Yeah, I think he totally did. After Nightmare Alley, we got
Maestro,
Star Is
man.
Born, yeah, and then Maestro, and anyway, we're not here to dump on Bradley Cooper.
I mean,
we
could,
can.
but I think he would have been good as Frank Grillo's character.
Yeah, I think he would have
Mouthy.
been pretty good there too. Absolutely.
Them reuniting after A-Team.
Yes.
Makes sense. Thank you for reminding me about that movie, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I still have never seen it. One of these days, I will have to check it out.
You know what? I'll probably throw it on the list. Why not?
All right, yeah. I've heard it was a blast. Charlton Copley's in it.
You're going to love him.
Gotta love him.
Yeah, he's insane in the movie. It's great.
Great. So this movie was released January 27th of 2012. Budget was $25 million.
That is not that bad, given that they're out in the wilderness.
Right? Yeah, I know. Opening weekend in the U.S. and Canada brought in 19.6. The domestic box office was $51.5 million.
$50 million! Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, and the gross worldwide box office was $79.7 million, so it did fairly well.
It really did.
This was a very good movie, in my opinion. I know you have your reservations about it. When I saw the worldwide gross, I was actually very surprised, because while I did see it in theaters and it was a packed house, I still don't know many people that have seen The Grey. So I hope that this episode will get people to check it out. It is certainly worth your time. It is currently available to stream on Amazon Prime. I watched my Blu-ray copy, and I had a blast bringing it to the podcast, and I'm glad you had a good time with it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I watched it on Amazon. And I think it's because it just fell in with the stream of movies that Liam Neeson has done over the last 10 years that were kind of those that we like to call on this podcast the straight-to-video movies, right?
Yes.
And so I think it just got lost in the shuffle, and it's one of the gems. And I think it's worth watching, at least for people who are interested in this topic.
Hail to the yeah! So that is The Grey. Thank you guys for listening, and hopefully you'll check it out. V, I think it's time to survive your pick this week. What do you say?
Perfect. And I'll start off with saying that I do think my movie's better than yours.
Well,
For
97, it is definitely a badass movie, but I
right?
think mine is better. But yeah, we'll chat about it.
I think that's a great way to describe it. This is a badass 1997 movie, a year that I've been picking a lot lately through no intention of my own, I promise. It's just kind of turned out that way given the topics that we've been picking for the last couple episodes. But I don't feel bad about it because these are all really good movies, and apparently 1997 was a great year.
97 was a very good year.
So let's get into this movie starring Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. It is titled The Edge. And this movie had a really memorable trailer. I've certainly always remembered it, and I think you mentioned that last week as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
I
then
think I saw the trailer right before Lost World Jurassic Park and was like, whoa.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
then it was R-rated, and it was the time where it was like, no R-rated movies for you.
Well, thankfully, that is no longer the case.
No, it's not.
And yes, this movie is rated R. It centers around Charles Morse, played by Anthony Hopkins, who is a billionaire, and his posse of people. They're all flying up to the Alaskan wilderness to an incredible lodge that is off-grid and hosted by this guy named L.Q. Jones. Well, that's the actor's name. He plays Styles. Did you recognize him?
I want to say he was in Braveheart? Or Lord of the Rings? Or
It's another
one of those...
Anthony Hopkins movie.
Oh. Was it Silence of the Lambs?
It's The Mask of Zorro.
Oh, I would not have recognized him from that. I do not remember that movie. The only scene I remember is when he takes Catherine Zeta-Jones' clothes off. That's with his sword. I literally only remember that part of the movie. I don't remember liking Mask of Zorro, but I think it was more of an influential thing because we all went and saw it like around Thanksgiving, and my parents were like, "Well, that was terrible." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess it was bad," and I've never watched it since.
You need to rewatch it. It's a great movie. Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Anthony Hopkins, and this guy L.Q. Jones, who plays Antonio Banderas' friend and also kind of leader of their little gang. He's Three-Fingered Jack in that movie.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So a lot of people will recognize him from them. Anyway, so Styles is the man who is the host of this very nice lodge that people rent out. Anthony Hopkins playing Charles Morse, his billionaire status, he brings all of his friends as well as his very beautiful, much younger wife, played by Elle Macpherson.
I was looking at her and it's like, I know who this is.
Oh, yeah.
So I did have to IMDb and make sure that I had it right. And yeah, Elle Macpherson. Sports Illustrated.
Yes, she is very famous for being a model in the 90s, especially on swimsuit editions of Sports Illustrated. She's from Australia, I believe. And she also plays George Clooney's girlfriend in Batman and Robin. She has like one line. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So not only is Charles's wife along for the ride, but also a photographer named Bob Green, played by Alec Baldwin, who seems like he's friends with the couple, as well as a lot of their assistants, and you know how people travel when they're rich.
Oh, yeah.
He's not rich. He's wealthy. And
he is.
One of them is also Bob Green's assistant, played by Harold Perrineau, who we all will recognize. He plays Steve in this movie, but we know him as Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet.
Hell yeah. The best portrayal of Mercutio
ever.
Still and ever. Yeah.
Yeah. He also is a pilot in The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Operator. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was in the entire run of the show Oz on HBO.
Oh, yeah. Never watched that. I've heard that's an incredible show.
Yeah, it's really brutal, though. And he also is in Lost. He plays Michael.
I want to start his new show From. It's supposed to be really good. I've just never given it a shot yet.
The character of Michael in Lost is kind of an asshole, but he's really great in it. So yeah, Harold Perrineau, it's great to see him again. And so all these people are up at this lodge, and it turns out they have a surprise party for Charles, which is really nice, even though I've never heard of a surprise party going well. I don't know.
Oh, I've been to two that both went very well. One was for my dad's 50th birthday, and then the other was for my 30th birthday.
Oh, yeah. I remember doing a 50th birthday party for my dad, and it was a surprise that everybody was there. Okay, I think it's just portrayed as going terribly in movies, and that's why I always associate it. But in real life...
Always.
It's kind of a trope, right?
Yeah, big time.
In real life, it seems to go off better.
Yeah.
Okay. So they host a surprise party for Charles, which goes well, except for almost scaring him to death with this surprise. Which is great.
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
And some of the gifts he gets are a really cool knife from his wife, as well as a cool pocket, as well as a really nice pocket watch. And he also gets this really cool book from his assistant when they're flying up there on this little float plane. The group of them first flew over to Alaska from New York on Charles's private plane, and then they got in this cool little bush plane to get up to this lodge. Anyway, so it's a float plane. It lands on the lake. During this flight, he opens this present from his assistant and has a really sweet note in it. And I really love that kind of exposition where we're learning about this character without it being outright. And clearly his assistant saying all these nice things in the note means that he's probably a pretty good boss. He's probably pretty thoughtful. He's not this arrogant, pompous millionaire, right?
Yeah.
And so after the party the next day, they're starting to do a photo shoot because Bob Green is in fact a photographer and Elle Macpherson in real life is in fact a model. So playing this woman who is now modeling for shoes, I think. They're doing a bunch of photos, and in a horrific cultural appropriation photo shoot that I think is so dated. Now you're like, yeah, this was made in the 90s.
Big time. Where's this Indian? We need to find him and put him in the picture.
God, yeah. And so that's what happens, is that Bob Green is not happy with how the photos are going. He needs more authenticity. He needs it to feel real. And so he had seen this picture of a guy the night before in the lodge, and Stiles had told him that, oh yeah, this is a friend of mine. He lives in a cabin like 20 miles away. And so Bob Green now is on a mission to find this guy so he can put him in his photo shoot. And so let's all get in the plane and let's go find him. Well, not only the pilot, but also Bob Green asks his assistant Steve, played by Harold Perrineau, as well as asking Charles to go along with him just for fun, because it'll be a nice way to get out of the lodge and see more things, especially in this really cool float plane. And so they do. They all go out there. They get to that guy's cabin, and unfortunately he's left a note saying, I've gone fishing up at this lake, and that's like another 10 or 20 miles away as well. Bob Green, being very motivated, says, okay, let's go find him. Let's go to this lake. I really need this shot. It's not going to work otherwise. He's being a very pretentious and demanding photographer, as the trope goes. And so they all get back in the plane, but unfortunately while they're flying up to this lake, they run into a flock of birds, and this being a small plane, it damages the engine to a point where they're crashing. The pilot tries to save them, but unfortunately that doesn't happen, and not only do they clip one of the floats on the edge of a cliff, but also the engine's completely blown, so they're basically falling into this lake, and that's what happens. The pilot dies on impact, and Charles ends up using his brand new knife to cut Steve out of his seatbelt and bring him up to the lake. And so now only 3 people have survived. It's Charles, it's Bob Green, played by Alec Baldwin, and Steve. So the cool thing about Charles, beyond being a billionaire, is that he's actually incredibly intelligent, and it seems like he has a photographic memory because he knows all of the most random facts and topics that you could ever ask, and now he's been reading this book that is all about survival in the wilderness that his assistant had given him on the way up there, and he'd been reading it over the weekend, so that becomes really helpful. And so now Bob and Steve are actually starting to lean on Charles for answers, for the plan, and that's what Charles does. He finds out where south is and says, we need to get back to this guy's cabin because nobody will be looking for us up here.
Right.
They only knew we were going to this cabin, and so they start walking. Well, unfortunately, not only do they run into a bear and have to try to run from him, which never, ever do that, ever.
No.
The scenes of them running away from the bear, I'm like, you would never be faster than him. He will track you. He would chase you down in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Especially Kodiak. So the usual saying goes, if it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down. If it's white, say goodnight.
Mm-hmm.
And so the nice thing is, for us living in California, black bears, we've encountered them on trails, and it's really not a big deal, right? We just...
Oh, I've never...
You haven't? With all the hiking you've done?
I'm not going to encounter a black bear at the Griffith Park Observatory.
That's true. Okay, fair.
No.
With the hiking I've done in the Sierras, I've encountered bears several times.
There's just a little bit of a difference.
There is. Fair point. Okay. So they're not as aggressive as brown and or grizzly bears. And then white, meaning polar bear. Mm-hmm. You're just dead. But... in this movie, they say it's a Kodiak bear, which is in Alaska, which are even bigger than grizzly bears.
Oh.
As well as meaner. And I learned that in my time in Alaska as well, is that Kodiak bears, you just kiss your ass goodbye at that point. And so that's what they've run into in this Alaskan wilderness, because this movie takes place in Alaska as well.
Yeah.
Although it was also filmed in Canada, which is kind of funny.
I know, it's always so funny.
But beyond encountering the bear, who is played by Bart the bear, who we will talk about again in a little bit, it turns out that while they're on this trail and while they're trying to get out of these mountains and down south, they actually end up back at the lake they crashed in and find the fire they had made a couple nights before. And of course, they get really pissed and very desperate and freak out a bit, which is completely reasonable. And it turns out this little handmade compass that they'd been making had the magnetism messed up. And so that's one of the reasons why. But the other reason is that this is actually very accurate to real life.
Oh.
Because without external cues, like clear landmarks, for example, the brain cannot maintain a straight path.
Oh.
Small sensory errors happen and accumulate, as well as imbalances in your body, like leg strength or stride length. Rather than walking in a straight line, most people can't, and they end up going in circles when they're lost in the wilderness.
No fucking way.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Yeah, so it's...
No pun intended. That's really interesting. I had no clue.
Yeah, so that's...
I've seen that before, and I'm like, how do you walk in a circle?
Right,
Like, just
exactly.
go one fucking direction.
I know. Yeah, unless you have a very specific point way off in the distance that you are going towards, you are not going to walk in a straight line, and it's going to be a big issue.
Wow, okay.
So for anybody who ever gets lost in the wilderness, just remember that. And
yeah.
Now not only are they more hungry and weaker, but also they're a little more desperate, and the morale is definitely starting to hit a breaking point. And so that's when Harold Perrineau, playing Steve, really starts to freak out too. And in order to combat that, Charles says, hey, borrow my knife. Here's a stick. Why don't you make a spear and we'll hunt for fish in this lake? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, this is ridiculous, but okay. And he and Bob walk off a little ways and start talking about what the hell they're actually going to do. And that's when they hear Steve scream. Unfortunately, they're all from New York. Steve isn't really good at handling a knife, and he cuts himself.
Yeah.
Understandable. He's just a photographer assistant. He doesn't have a lot of experience out in the world. So he cuts himself badly in the leg. Charles tries to help him, ties a bandage around it, and cuts off the rest of his pant leg that is now covered in blood, and tells Bob, hey, go bury this.
Mm-hmm.
That night, they're sitting around the campfire. It's raining, and Charles stands up and walks around a little bit and notices the pant leg is actually hanging in the trees.
Yeah.
He turns to Bob and goes, what the hell? I told you to bury this. Go get it. I can't believe you didn't do this. He's like, what's the big deal? I just tossed it off to the side a little bit. It's not a big deal. And he goes, it is a big deal. The bears and everything else is going to smell the blood in the air. As he says that, the bear comes back. And now that there's this very bloody leg hanging around attached to Steve, the bear's really interested in it. And unfortunately, Steve gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just down to Charles and Bob, and they continue to fight for their survival throughout the wilderness. And there's a point where, as they're continuing to hike, because now they are working a little bit harder to maintain a straight path going south.
Yeah.
At one point, they hear a helicopter, and they're running after it, and they're trying to signal it, and unfortunately, it just keeps going. And the amount of despair that I would have in that moment...
Oh, yeah.
I would sit down for several hours and just feel sorry for myself, I think.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I would be so bummed. So the rest of the movie is them continuing to work together to try to survive, make sure they can stay ahead of that bear or any other predators that are out there trying to eat them, as well as fight the incoming winter, because unlike your movie, it is not in the dead of winter. It's actually quite beautiful out. There is snow on the surrounding mountains, but a lot of places they're walking, there isn't snow yet. But winter storms start to come in, things start to get worse for them. And so, yes, this is a movie of survival starring these great actors, and I think it's very well shot. I think it's very well done. I've really enjoyed it ever since I watched it, I think in like 98 or 99, so I was a teenager, and I've liked it ever since. I haven't watched it that many times, but when we talked about survival movies and you picked The Grey, I knew that this was the exact movie to pair it with, so I hope you agree with that at least, and given that you've never seen it before, I hope you had a good time with it.
I definitely did have a good time with it. Seeing the trailer, I think I saw it 2 or 3 different times, especially on a couple VHSs later on in the 90s as well. And I was always like, oh, that looks like a pretty cool flick. I want to check it out someday. And now here we are 26 years later, and I finally have now seen The Edge. I remember telling you right before I watched both movies that it was the perfect pairing because I didn't know that there was a plane crash in your movie. I just figured they were wilderness guys and a bear showed up. Like, I didn't know what this movie really was about. So having almost no knowledge on it except for the fact that there was a plane crash involved, I thought that this and The Grey would absolutely be a great combo. And it certainly is a great combo. The bear, super terrifying. There's definitely a reminiscent scene in The Edge that's very similar to White Fang with the bear. I'm sure you know which scene I'm talking about. Sorry if I just blew who the bear is.
No,
but,
not at all, because that's exactly the scene I thought of when I was watching The Edge, too.
All right, there you go. Anthony Hopkins' character, a little different than what I'm used to seeing from him, so it took me a minute to kind of like get into it. My least favorite scene was the surprise party because it's like, surprise, blow out the candle. Okay, we're going to bed. I was like,
know, right?
what the hell? Like, why not have a party? Like, there's a bar in this fucking place. And the guy says the kitchen's available. Give us another, 7 minutes of exposition of the friendships between these people, other than the fact that they get on a plane, they go to Alaska, and now Alec Baldwin's like, let's go find this Indian. But overall, I really did have a good time with it. The pocket watch was awesome. I loved the pocket watch.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole thing where they were putting the piece of the pocket watch on a leaf in the water was super fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen that done in a movie. So that was pretty cool. So I started thinking if ever I get lost in the wilderness, I'll have to bust open a watch of mine and put the minute hand on a leaf in the water.
Well,
and
the problem
it'll be some
is
sort of a compass.
they're all digital now. We don't have watch hands, and you have to have.
I do.
That's good. And you have to have silk in order to magnetize it, says in the book, which that book is fake.
Oh, is that book fake?
I was so disappointed to learn that.
Yeah, that's a little too bad. And now it kind of makes sense because the title of the book was a little strange, too.
Lost in the Wilds. It makes sense for an older book, I think. But
I guess that's true.
Given all the lessons he was learning, I was like, man, that's a pretty cool survival guide. And I looked it up and it was fake. I was like, So they made 3 copies for the movie. And one of them ends up in the bottom of the lake. And then I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on survival guides. I have 2 of them already, but I think I'd like some more. I've always been interested in that sort of knowledge. It was cool, though, when you find out that props are actually created for films.
Yes, I do like hearing that kind of stuff because I'm always, whenever I watch a movie and somebody pulls out something like that, I'm like, oh, does that really exist, or was that made for the movie? And when it's made for the movie, it's absolutely cool because the prop department and the art department really had to get into the nitty-gritty of it all. I didn't like the Lost in the Wilds. The wilds was the word that threw me off. It's wilds?
Because if you think of several different types of terrain, it makes sense. So if you're lost in the wilderness of Alaska, that's very different than being lost in a desert, right? Even though they're both wild areas. So I think that's why. But it's also kind of an older way to speak about nature, the wilds versus the wilds.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But you're used to
so city, so
the call of the wild, which makes sense why you'd want it singular.
Right, yeah. I guess, okay, that makes sense. Breaking down well enough for me to grasp on that. But overall, I definitely had a good time with it. The scenes with the bear were certainly intense, and the whole thing with Harold Perrineau was brutal. It really makes me want to go to Alaska because it's so gorgeous up there. I would really like to check it out at some point in the future.
I recommend it. I'm going back this year, actually.
All right, there you go. Maybe I'll come visit. But overall, I had a good time. I don't know how often I would watch it, but if somebody is like, have you ever seen The Edge? And I would watch it again. I just don't know how often. Yeah,
it's hard for these types of movies. How often would you watch them, right? And I think it's more along the genre versus the quality of the film, in my personal case. I can't think of a survival movie that I watch on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's true. I was trying to think, to rack my brain on what other movies are survival movies that I have that I'm just like, oh yeah, because The Revenant, I've only seen that 3 times. I don't even own that movie. The Grey, of course, talking about that today. I own that one, but I don't watch it every year.
The Day After Tomorrow, I don't watch it that often.
Oh yeah, that I guess could be considered a survival movie. Yeah.
Any of those movies, like The Perfect Storm, I've only seen that twice.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that once or twice, too.
127 Hours, I'm thinking of.
Twice, I think.
Twice for me, too. God, that movie's brutal. I don't want to watch it more than once.
Right, yeah.
Well, there's also 6 Days, 7 Nights. I've seen that a couple more times just because it's funny.
I've never seen that one.
It's fine. It's not great, but it's entertaining, and Harrison Ford is really good in it. And funny enough, they actually use the same de Havilland, if you remember that company that makes airplanes from The Rocketeer. That de Havilland Canada Beaver, it's a DHC-2. It was actually also used in 6 Days, 7 Nights, and they crashed in both movies, which is hilarious.
All right.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Thinking through other survival movies, it's not a genre I would watch very often or repeatedly or the same film over and over again.
Right.
It's just harder to watch, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I get what you're saying.
Cool. But yeah, definitely glad I checked it out, and maybe I'll watch it again in the future.
Well, I'm glad to introduce it to you then.
Yeah.
This is the second film of Anthony Hopkins that I've chosen because I picked The Silence of the Lambs back in one of our horror months. He won the Oscar for that, and he's been a lot of other great things, including he was the narrator in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, your Jim Carrey pick a couple of Christmases ago, which is cool. But yeah, there are other movies that we'll pick him in, so we'll talk about him again in the future. And this is the first Alec Baldwin movie we've picked, though.
Hey, all right. Welcome to the show, Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, he was in Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, and Fallout, 2 of the best Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
He's really good in those. He's also in Beetlejuice. Not a fan of it, but that's a classic role of his.
Oh, yeah.
The Hunt for Red October, he was the original Jack Ryan before Harrison Ford came along.
Oh, yeah.
He got
That's
real pissed he was recast. I know that.
Oh, did he really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are a couple of angry interviews with him in it.
Oh.
He also stars in Glengarry Glen Ross, The Shadow, a really underrated thriller with Bruce Willis called Mercury Rising. I should probably pick that
is a good movie.
He also plays Julia Roberts' boyfriend in Notting Hill, which is funny.
Oh.
And I really like that in the beginning of this film, The Edge, he makes a comment about our fortitude. That's how we beat the Japanese in World War II. And I really like that because he plays Commander Doolittle in Pearl Harbor, who orchestrates the retaliation against the Japanese after Pearl Harbor. So I thought that was kind of a funny connection.
I don't remember him in Pearl Harbor.
Well, it's a very melodramatic movie.
Not a great
it's fine.
movie.
No, it's not. But what is a good movie is The Aviator, and I love him in it.
Yes, he's great in The Aviator. Absolutely.
He's also great in The Departed.
Hell yeah, he is. I love him in The Departed.
Me too. So yeah, those are some of Alec Baldwin's credits. And so now we can talk about Bart the Bear.
Yeah, Bart the Bear.
He lived from 1977 to the year 2000, so this was one of his last films. He also plays the bear in White Fang, which is a former pick of yours.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 Homeward Bound movies.
Oh.
Legends of the Fall, and a movie called The Bear.
Oh, yeah, The Bear.
Yeah.
That is, wow.
Bart is a legend. We love him.
He is.
This movie was written by David Mamet, who wrote The Postman Always Rings Twice, The Verdict, The Untouchables, movie you hate.
Yeah.
Glengarry Glen Ross, Ronin, another former pick of mine.
Oh, yeah.
And Hannibal, the unfortunate sequel to The Silence of the Lambs.
Ugh, yeah. But then Red Dragon came along and redeemed everything.
Oh, God, that is a good movie. It's a good book, too.
Yes.
I don't know if you're a fan of it, but I really liked the score in this movie.
It was very good.
Oh, good. I'm glad you thought that. Jerry Goldsmith was the composer. He is also the composer on L.A. Confidential, former pick of mine.
Yeah.
The Mummy, another former pick of mine, actually. Mulan, Congo, Total Recall, Legend, the one with Tom Cruise in it. Supergirl, Gremlins, The Secret of Nim, which is a previous pick of yours.
Yeah.
Poltergeist, which was a previous pick of mine, and then it's in a lost episode, and then I did an audible and picked something else, which you were disappointed by in our last October. That was a really fun roundabout story. And he also scored Alien.
Hell yeah.
So I really like that you brought up that you wished you had more scenes and exposition with the people, especially before the plane crash, because Lee Tamahori was the director of this film. He also directed a movie called The Devil's Double, which is very underrated. The James Bond movie Die Another Day, that's the one with Halle Berry in it.
Yeah.
And Along Came a Spider, which stars Morgan Freeman. It's based on James Patterson books.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he died on November 7th of last year. But
oh, wow.
Alec Baldwin actually said the movie's underwhelming performance in the box office can be blamed on the director, Lee, because he watered down David Mamet's script pretty heavily and was interested in action more than the characters.
Got it.
And so cutting out or not having a lot of exposition about people in this movie really fell to the director. And I agree with him, actually.
Yeah, no, totally.
I think that there was an opportunity, especially with the strength of actors that were in this film, to make it so much more character-driven than it was.
Fully agree.
It didn't need to be as action-packed. It was, I mean, the action's cool. Great to see Bart the Bear again, but having it be more of a psychological, character-driven movie could have been wonderful given the actors.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and throw the bear still in there, but yeah, have it more... Yeah, that would have been cool.
And so it would have been nice to see in an alternate universe another cut of this film.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But the nice thing is, still good performances, still gorgeous scenery, and that is because it was filmed in Mount Assiniboine Park in Canada. It's between British Columbia and Alberta. That's where the park is located. I'd really like to visit it.
Hell yeah.
Some of the places they're walking are actual trails within the park, so there's an opportunity to
very cool.
walk where they filmed this movie, which would be really cool.
That would be neat.
But the underwater plane scene when it crashes into the lake were shot at Edmonton Kingsman Sports Center, which is really cool.
Ah.
They have a dive tank there, and that's where they filmed all that, which is good
wow.
because the actual actors were in this sunken plane in a couple of these scenes.
That's cool. Practicality.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Anthony Hopkins was suffering from a slipped disc in his neck throughout the filming, so
Whoa.
a lot of the grimaces and pain that he's showing are real, which sucks.
Oh, wow.
The crazy thing is that even though this movie did not do very well in the theater, it had a $30 million budget, so similar to yours.
Oh, wow.
It only made $28 million in the US and $43 million worldwide. Did not do very well, unfortunately. And the last thing I want to say about this film is, according to Bart the Bear's trainer, whose name is Lynn Seuss, Anthony Hopkins performed many of his own scenes that he shared with Bart.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, which could be really cool, but also shows a whole lot of trust that Anthony had, not only in the bear, but also with Lynn the trainer.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, so that is The Edge. You can, unfortunately, not stream it anywhere, but you can rent it. So go ahead and give it a shot if you haven't seen it before or if you'd like to revisit it. I'm so glad that we were able to introduce 2 new movies to each other this week. I'm always so fond of when that happens. And I'm curious if you would watch The Gray with your grandma.
I don't know about that one. I don't know if my grandma would have liked it, truthfully.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a tough one. Similar to like our feel of survival movies.
Yeah.
So I guess same question. Would you watch The Edge with your grandma?
My dad's mom really liked the outdoors. She was a big camper. She's actually the one who first taught me how to camp when I was 4.
Oh, wow.
She started taking me camping when I was really young with my grandpa Ed, which was awesome. Very fond memories of that, which is why I'm a big outdoors person.
Yeah.
And so I think she'd like that aspect of the movie, and I think she'd have fun with it. And she liked action movies too, so I'd probably watch it with her. I wouldn't watch it with my other grandmas, but both of these movies, other than the wilderness violence, which is something we've never said on this show, other than that, they're pretty tame, pretty tame movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just about anybody could watch it over the age of like 14 or 15 just because it shows people in peril.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just your discretion, but they're definitely both movies worth watching if you're into survival films.
I completely agree with that.
All right, well, that wraps up episode 199, which means next week's ep, number 200, is not only us celebrating that fact, but also us discussing all of the movies that we saw in the year 2025. We are both so excited to bring you this recap. And, oh man, we still have a couple movies to watch, that's true. But
yes.
We will be discussing nearly 200 films.
Hell yeah, we will.
We will be posting these lists on social media after the episode drops, so no worries there. But definitely sit back and relax for that recap, which will probably be a 2-parter. We're both really excited for it, and we hope you are too.
Very excited about that episode coming up.
Awesome. Well, until then, thank you everyone so much for joining us. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this episode, as well as tell everybody you know about this podcast so we can get some more listeners and keep doing it. We really appreciate you all being fans and continuing to tune in. We really love doing this. And until next episode, film is a form of art, and in art, all opinions are valid, except if you think
it's cool to go out and kill wolves.
Totally agree. I think we said something similar for White Fang episode, but it's worth saying again.
Yeah, I think the White Fang one was about the dogfighting rings.
That's right. God, that sucked too.
Yes, it did.
Aw. Yeah, don't hurt animals.
No hurting aminos.
All right, everyone. Until next week, bye-bye.
Cheers, everybody.